Today's video is on a video game that's done in your web browser called Tribals.io. I'm going to be just bringing up the information from the wiki and a little bit of a critique about just the wiki. Here we go. Number one, this is the list of the foods you can get a hold of. Most of these are pickup items. You just pick them up and go. Others require a trap, like the salmon and other fish. Some require that you go hunting. I don't know how you get shrimp, cooked or otherwise. And I couldn't find any carrots or banana, so I'm upset. Next, resources. Basic idea: wood, stone, iron ores that can be made into various things. Then they're listing resources as stuff that you make, but you can also find these. Some of them are not just pickup items, they're found in barrels or other. They're kind of all over the place as far as how the page lists them. I want to point out that it lists nails in several pages, obtainable through shipwrecks, but I didn't find any. But then again, I'm on a player versus environment server learning how to play the game, which is what I recommend people do. But it also includes, as quote, resources like springs, barrels, uh, maybe the nail was used as a firing pin, who knows. I'm always disappointed by video games that have firearms of some kind, but they don't list the one you would actually be able to build. The most easily made ones that literally have two parts and they move towards each other to set off a cartridge. Like, I'm always amazed. It's like almost like they're trying to make sure that's not part of the game or something. Anyway, and I'm including links in the images, if possible, of where I got these information from. These are all reorganized versions of the page data for the most part, so I could fit them to the screen. One of them I failed to do it at, and we can all have a laugh at my attempt. Let's move on. Again, yes, you're not blinking or anything. That's the same kind of list. I'm not sure, but I think it has a lot more data or less. I can't tell. Again, now it has a strike through for nail. Okay, a criticism of the web page. The wiki page, which is run by the people who are running the game, it's where you go to play the game. They have duplicate forms for it because this one's listing them as resources under items, and the previous one is just resources in general. You'd think resources would be more broad, but this might be items that are also resources. So I don't know. So I'm presenting both just because they are available. Okay. And if I sit here and work at it, I can probably figure out, okay, sure, maybe they're identical. Let's move on. Player-made structures. There are also structures in the game. There are objects you can or cannot build on or near. Some of them are destroyable because they're just considered a source of wood, or as it said, nails, the shipwreck, for instance. Others are items or parts of the terrain that are, quote, destructible, but really they are just a variation of mining materials like nodes. In this case, we have player-made structures, including things that are made in the crafting menu. That's where you hit the tab key. And if you have the resources like wood, rope, stone, or leaves and rope, leaves are used to make rope, by the way, or if you happen to run along a iron bar that you might be able to find, you can build all sorts of things, including the larger storage box versus the small, that sort of thing. The thing is, that implies that, you know, your crafting menu for building things versus a building plan for building primarily building components, you'd think these be in a separate listing. Also, where's the normal box here that's supposed to be here? Because that's just the crafting menu you get by hitting tab. Building plan, by the way, you make that out of a single leaf and it opens up hundreds, well, okay, dozens of possibilities, about a dozen possibilities, okay, of things to build. That's the player-made structures. Then we get buildings. Now this is almost exclusively building plans. And then we have crafting menu repeated here. And then we have workbench, which only is the iron door. These are parts of the building you would build in a crafting menu or building plan. I want to point out some of these things are just items you can place that use, quote, a building plan icon when you bring it up in your hands, but it's not really requiring a building plan. It's just an item you can physically obtain or make that doesn't require, quote, a building plan, or it might. It really depends on where I look it up. Now we go from there to this. Now, this is the plus sign I'm going to put on the video game. The majority, like a really big majority, like to the point that I can't get the image on the screen here to be good enough for you to read properly. So I'm going to leave a link to these images, by the way, just so you got it, along with the pages I got them from. The game on, I'm going to call it Tier 0, with you grabbing literally a leaf to make a building plan so that you can build stuff. Like, here's the building plan. It's a leaf. Once you get that, it opens up everything in here that just requires that leaf in your hand be converted to a sheet of paper with scribblings on it. That and an upgrade hammer, a paintbrush, you can do 99% of what you need to do. In fact, the way I'm playing the game currently, and it's on a player versus environment server. It's not player versus player. But on the one I'm on, staying at Tier 0 is honestly the best way to play the game for me. Least amount of effort, least amount of trouble, least amount of vulnerability. But let's move on. But yeah, that's the craftable items. These are the craftable items, according to the wiki, that require the workbench. That's it. There's a workbench, not 3. There's a repair bench. That's it. The only other item that's a structure that you could put into building, I mean, there's one, and it's a very important one, and I get variable answers as to what its requirements are. Then we get weapons and equipment. This is a mixed bag of things that have the ability to be used to do something. Like, on the right, we have things that do not harvest anything. That's why I put them over there. This is a modified list. All of these are modified by me, by the way. On the left side, we see things that can be used maybe for weaponry, fighting back, and also harvest things from various sources. You notice the majority of them are about collecting wood. The only one that isn't listed here, which I find annoying, because it's a weapon and or equipment item, is the flint cobble. It's the stone you carry around. They actually specify that it's a flint, a chunk of flint. And if you're not aware of it, it's a flint node or core. A flint core can be used for harvesting wood, not really stone, but you get the idea. It's used for both of them. It's a universal tool, and it, quote, never wears out. In the game, it may not wear out, but the idea, if you're not aware of it, is if you hit even one other hunk of rock, you get a bunch of flint stones from that. Let's move on. Yes, it's the same list, except now it includes the stone. The different way of looking at it. Again, these are taken from several perspectives, but they're not strictly sorted out. Now, that bothers me a bit. Doesn't matter if it bothers me. Doesn't bother you. Say so. But I want to point out that it includes pistol under weapons and equipment here. And we go back. It does it again. I want to point at least a cool thing here is they have ammunition for a handgun versus ammunition for a long gun. They call it a musket, and it has musket ammo, and there's pistol ammo for the pistol. They simplified it down a great deal compared to other games like Rust. But again, the page is listed differently. This one's listed under items, and this one is listed under weapons and equipment as a subset of items. Let's move on. Well, that's it. Now, again, this has a huge amount of stuff in it. Now, I'm going to bring up a couple of criticisms about the game so far just to throw it in here real quick. Number one, it appears that the same identical map is being used everywhere. I don't know if that's true, but it seems like it. Next, the spawn points for all the items to look at on one server will be different than the others. I've noticed that. And they also sometimes change it up to where they don't spawn in the same places. They kind of move around a little bit, but not very much. Okay? But it seems like so far, it's just one map. But I obviously could be wrong. Next, when I set it to low enough resolution for it to play on my computer, in my web browser that's Firefox 102, and I'm running Windows 7, yes, I'm going to do that just to test the hell out of it. It works fine, but I have to lower the resolution to potato. If I take it just above potato, I can actually read the text on the screen. My own fault, I didn't bring up the resolution just that stinking little bit so I could read things. Other than that, even with blurry text, the game is very playable. Crash problems. Number one, if you're on a player versus environment server, or some other servers may do this as well, they put up an interstitial black screen with what appears to be a bouncing blue gloved hand that seems to be flipping people off. It's not a peace sign, guys. And I think it's doing it because it can't show me any ads or whatever it is showing there because of something weird. Maybe my computer's too stupid to run the ads. I don't know. The next thing is that actually could just be the server showing that image because it's having, crash problems. But the thing is, it did it when I was the only one on the server. So I'm pretty sure is where an ad would go and it's flipping me off because it can't show it to me, or it's a placeholder. Anyway, it blacks out the screen if you're on player versus environment number 10 for North America, just so you know. Next, criticism. The wording of the text in some of the messages is not broken English, it's broken grammar, but it comes from the majority of people who are doing the game are from a country where everybody is really well educated in how to speak and write English, so I'm not sure what's causing that. Maybe it's a screw up on my part, but I can't see it as a screw up. I'm seeing this consistently on different servers. Next, my advice: stay tier 0. Do everything with wood and stone, and don't bother with a bench. It doesn't provide very much. On that note, if you're doing player versus player, get a bench and learn how to make a rifle and a pistol. Okay, that'll be it. This has just been a basic rundown. This is a bunch of cheat sheets that should be printed out if you want to. You'll have to correct them. Sorry. And the wiki seems to not be getting updated enough. Yeah, I'll complain a little bit about that. Anyway, that's kind of my opinions on it so far, and it's not a learned opinion. It's subject to change. And also, pretty good game so far, and it's a kind of a good stopgap before I ever install Rust. And I'll be doing a video on how to do what I consider the best methodologies for playing it so far. And again, that's player versus environment, because player versus player, I'm not qualified for yet. Thanks for watching. Have a good day. Good luck with all that. Bye.